What if I told you? Your dog doesn't even know you're human. Every time they look into your eyes, they're not seeing a person. They're seeing something else entirely. Something they can't explain, but they'd follow to the ends of the earth. Maybe that's why they wait by the door long after you've left. Maybe that's why they sleep on your old shirt, or suddenly whine at nothing as if missing someone who's still supposed to be there. We like to think we understand our dogs, but what if everything we thought was wrong? In this video, you're about to discover 15 hidden truths about how dogs actually see you, love you, and hold on to your scent like a story they can't stop telling. And one of those truths might just change the way you look at your dog forever. But first, let me show you what they really see when they look at you. Your dog doesn't count the hours you're gone. To them, time isn't measured by clocks. It's measured by scent, by how strong or faint you still are in the air. When you leave home, the smell you leave behind slowly fades. That fading becomes their version of waiting. The moment your scent starts to vanish, they begin to worry. That's why they sit by the door, not because they know it's 5 o'clock, but because the air around them feels emptier. Scientists have found that dogs build a scent map of your daily routine. They can even predict when you'll be back simply by how much of your scent has thinned out. And when that door finally opens, it isn't just happiness. It's recognition. Their world snaps back into place. Imagine living every day like that, guided only by the scent of the one you love. Now, if you think that's touching, wait until you hear what happens when your dog looks at your face and doesn't see you as a human at all, but as something far more personal. Truth 2, they don't recognize you as human. They recognize you as theirs. You see, when your dog looks at you, they don't see a man or a woman. Their brain doesn't light up the same way it does when they see other dogs. In fact, brain scans have shown that dogs have specific neural responses just for humans, especially the ones they bond with. But here's the twist. They're not recognizing you by species. They're recognizing you by bond, by smell, voice, rhythm, energy, a kind of emotional fingerprint. That's why your dog doesn't confuse you with anyone else, even someone who looks just like you. And it's also why sometimes your dog stares at you like they're searching for something behind your face, something familiar, something that tells them you're still in there. And here's where it gets deeper. If your dog doesn't see you as a category, but as home, what happens when your energy changes? When you're sad or sick, or just not yourself? How does their perception of you shift? Because in that silence, in the space between your heartbeat and your breath, your dog might notice something you haven't even felt yet. And in the next truth, you'll find out how they do it, and how they might be the first to know something's wrong even before you do. Truth 3. They smell what you feel before you speak. You don't have to say a word. Before your shoulders slump, before you let out a sigh, your dog already knows something's changed. How? It's not magic, it's biology. When you're anxious, your body releases chemicals. Tiny shifts in your scent, undetectable to any human, suddenly flood the air. And your dog. They pick it up instantly. In one study, dogs were able to identify stress odors with over 90% accuracy. Think about that. Before you realize how stressed you are, your dog's already moving toward you. Not to fix it, not to ask questions, just to be there. A head on your knee, a nudge to your hand, their version of saying, "I've got you." That kind of connection doesn't need words. And it's why so many people say, "My dog just knows." But here's where things get even more surprising. If your dog can smell your fear, can they smell something worse? Something deeper, quieter, maybe even dangerous? In the next truth, we'll look at how some dogs don't just feel your pain. They might be the only ones who sense what your body is hiding from you. Truth 4. They can detect what doctors might miss. Some people find out they're sick from a medical test. Others, from a dog that won't stop sniffing the same spot. There are real stories documented by science of dogs detecting cancer blood sugar crashes, even seizures, before they happen. Not by sight, not by sound, just by scent. One man tells how his dog kept nudging his chest day after day until he finally went to the doctor. Turns out, there was a tumor growing early stage, silent, deadly. But his dog knew. This isn't just instinct. It's biology sharpened by love. When your body changes even slightly, your scent does too. And for a dog who knows you down to your heartbeat, that change is a signal. They don't panic. They don't run. They stay, close, watchful, waiting. Because in their world, you're more than someone they love. You're someone they need to keep safe. And that brings us to something even more powerful. If dogs can detect what's wrong inside your body, what do they do when you're gone? Not just out for groceries, but truly gone. What happens to them then? In the next truth, we'll step into that silence and what they feel when your scent disappears for good. Truth 5. They grieve through scent, not closure. When someone we love dies, we cry. We hold funerals, say goodbye, and try to move on. But your dog, they don't get that kind of closure. All they know is you vanished. And your scent, the thing that anchored their world, is fading. That's why some dogs sleep on a piece of clothing long after their person is gone. That's why they wait at the door, not for minutes, but for weeks. Not because they understand death, but because they feel absence. In their world, scent is presence. And when that scent begins to disappear, it doesn't register as finality. It registers as confusion, emptiness. They pace, they whine at shadows, they curl up in places you once stood. This isn't just behavior, it's grief. And the heartbreaking part is, they never truly know why. But here's where the story turns. Because just as your absence leaves a hole in their world, your return even after years brings something miraculous. In the next truth, we'll explore how a single scent, a single step, can bring back a flood of memories your dog never let go of, and what that reunion really means to them. Truth 6. One scent can bring back everything. Years can pass, hair turns gray, voices change, but your scent, the one your dog remembers, stays tucked away in their mind, like a photo that never fades. That's why, after a long absence, a single sniff can bring them sprinting across a field trail, shaking eyes wide, with something bigger than happiness. It's not just recognition. It's reunion. There are stories of dogs who haven't seen their person in 5, even 10 years, and yet the moment that scent hits, they know. They don't need to look at your face. They don't wait for your voice. It's instant. Like time collapsed, and they've been holding their breath the whole way through. Science backs this up. A dog's scent memory is one of the most powerful in the animal world. But there's something even more beautiful. Your scent isn't just a reminder of who you are. It's how they feel when you're around. Safe, settled, home. And if that kind of connection can survive years of silence, what about daily life? In the next truth, we'll look at how your everyday patterns become their compass, and what happens when that rhythm breaks. Truth 7. Your routine is their map of the world. You might not think twice about the sound of your boots in the morning, or the way you pour your coffee at the same time every day. But to your dog, those small habits are everything. They're not just background noise, they're landmarks, markers on the map of a world that only makes sense when you follow your rhythm. Dogs build their sense of time and safety through routine, not just when you feed them or walk them, but how you move, how you breathe, even how you open the fridge. That's why when something changes, you sleep in too long, you leave without warning, or you miss a step in your routine, they notice. Some get anxious, some wait by the door, sensing something's off. Not because they expect perfection, but because your rhythm tells them we're okay. And when that rhythm breaks, it can feel like a storm with no warning. But here's the part most people miss. Dogs don't just memorize your routine. They attach emotion to it, which leads to something even deeper. In the next truth, you'll see what happens when your dog doesn't just sense a change, but tries to fix it for you. Truth 8. They try to heal what they can't understand. Sometimes you don't even realize how much you've changed. Maybe you've stopped laughing as much. Maybe your steps are slower. But your dog notices. And they don't ask why. They don't need to. What they do instead is stay closer. They start sleeping nearer to your side. They follow you from room to room, not for food, not for play, just to be near the part of you that still feels like before. It's not obedience. It's devotion. Dogs have this quiet way of stepping into your sadness without ever calling it out. They'll rest their head on your lap when you feel hollow. They'll lick your hand when the world feels too loud. Not because they understand grief or loss the way we do, but because they know something's not right. And in their world, the answer is always closeness. There's science behind it too. Studies show that a dog's presence reduces cortisol, your body's stress hormone, simply by being near. They don't have to fix you. They just have to stay. And that kind of loyalty, that's not trained, that's chosen. But what happens when they need healing themselves and no one notices? In the next truth, we'll look at how dogs hide their own pain and why they often suffer in silence just to protect the bond they have with you. Truth 9. They hide their pain to keep you from worrying. You'd think a dog in pain would make it obvious. Limp whine, bark something, but often they don't. Not because they're tough, but because they're loyal in a way that hurts. For many dogs especially, those bonded closely with their person showing weakness feels like letting you down. So they hide it. They push through. They wag their tail when it hurts to stand. They follow you on the walk even when every step stings. Not because they can, but because they think they should. This isn't just instinct. It's protection. Dogs read your energy. They know when you're already carrying too much. And sometimes they make a quiet choice. If I pretend I'm okay, maybe they'll be okay too. There's something almost human about that, something heartbreaking. And the older they get, the more they mask. That's why so many people say, he seemed fine until he wasn't. But behind that stillness, there were signs, a slower turn of the head, a pause before lying down, eyes that linger just a second longer. So if they're willing to hide their pain for you, how do they choose you in the first place? Out of everyone in the house, why do they follow you room to room? In the next truth, you'll learn what makes one person their whole world and why once they choose, it's forever. Truth 10. They choose one person and never look back. In a house full of people with treats coming from every hand and voices calling their name, your dog still picks you. Not because you feed them more, not because you throw the ball better, but because there's something in the way you move, the way you breathe, the way you simply exist near them that makes them feel safe, seen, certain. Dogs don't love evenly. They attach deeply. And once that bond is formed, it's not about fairness or logic, it's instinct. You become their person, their shadow, their anchor. And no matter how many guests walk through your door, no matter how many arms open wide, they'll always check where you are first. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's just a quiet glance across the room. Sometimes it's choosing your side of the bed when no one's watching. And sometimes it's the way they wait for you to stand before they move, like your presence is the cue they've been waiting for. But here's something most people miss: dogs don't choose based on how loud your love is. They choose based on how consistent it feels. Which leads to the next truth, because if routine makes them feel safe, what happens when that rhythm is broken by grief, or distance, or time? What do dogs do when the person they chose disappears? Truth 11. When you're gone. They wait in the language of hope. For us, absence has definition. We know when someone's not coming back. We have words like goodbye, funeral closure. But dogs don't. All they know is that the person who made their world feel right isn't there. And so they wait. Not for a minute, not for a day, but sometimes for years. With the same eyes fixed on the door, the same ears lifting at every sound. They don't understand loss the way we do. What they feel is the silence, the missing heartbeat, the air that no longer smells like you. That's why some dogs sleep by the front door, why they guard the hallway, why they carry your sock from room to room, not as a toy, but as a lifeline. There's a kind of loyalty in dogs that borders on sacred. They won't ask for an explanation. They won't beg you to return. They'll just keep waiting. And in that waiting, they form rituals, habits of hope. A chair they check every evening. A walk they hesitate to start, hoping you'll come with them again. But what happens when you do return? What lights up inside them when your scent comes back after so long? In the next truth, we'll step into that reunion and uncover what it tells us about memory, love, and the way dogs never really let you go. Truth 12. Reunions are not just joy. They're recognition. When you come back after being away a trip, a deployment, or years apart, your dog doesn't greet you with casual excitement. It's not just wagging and jumping. It's an emotional eruption. A full-body confirmation that their wait was not in vain. What they're feeling isn't just happiness. It's recognition. A deep sensory knowing you're real. You're here. You're mine again. Dogs don't remember you the way we remember people by photos or voice. They remember you through scent, through energy, through the rhythm of your walk. That's why, even after years, even if your face has changed one sniff, and it all comes back, your return isn't just a moment. It's the end of a question they've been asking every day. Are they coming back? And when that question finally gets an answer, you'll see it in their body. The trembling, the spinning, the soft cry pressed into your shirt. They're not saying hello. They're saying finally. But what does that tell us about the way dogs hold on? What do they keep from us, even in our absence? In the next truth, we'll explore the invisible thread your dog carries, the one built from the small things you never noticed, and how that thread connects to everything they do when you're not looking. Truth 13. The little things you do become their entire world. You may not realize it, but your smallest habits, the way you tap your foot while thinking the sound of your boots on the floor, the way you open a drawer at night, they all become part of your dog's emotional map. These aren't just noises or movements. To your dog, they're signals. Comfort. Proof that life is still moving the way it's supposed to. That's why when you break those patterns even slightly, your dog notices. They lift their head when you don't hum in the kitchen. They follow you more closely when your steps sound heavier than usual. You're not just their person. You're the rhythm that shapes their day. And over time, they memorize it all. Not with logic, but with their heart. That's why when you leave the house, they drag your sock to the bed. why they lie on your side of the couch when you're not home. They're not being mischievous. They're rebuilding the world in your absence, using every piece of you they can find. But what happens when that rhythm shifts for good, not just for a day, but because of age illness or something you can't explain? In the next truth, we'll see how dogs don't just remember you, they monitor you closely. And sometimes they're the first to know when something inside you has changed. Truth 14. They notice what even you might miss. Long before the test results, long before the pain becomes real, your dog may already know something's wrong. Not because you said anything, not because you showed it, but because your scent changed just slightly, or your posture felt different, or your breath wasn't quite the same. To you, it's nothing. To them, it's everything. There are stories of dogs nudging the same spot on their person's body until that person finally went to the doctor and found a tumor. Others barked in panic minutes before their owner had a seizure. What they sense goes far beyond behavior. It's chemical, emotional, primal. Your dog doesn't need a diagnosis to know something's off. They just feel it. And what's even more remarkable is what they do with that knowledge. They don't panic. They don't run away. They get closer, quieter, gentler. It's as if they're trying to carry a piece of the weight you didn't even realize you were holding. But what does this kind of quiet loyalty mean in the final years, when age begins to wear on both of you, them in their body, and you, maybe in ways you haven't spoken out loud? In the next truth, we'll explore how dogs approach aging, not with fear, but with something far more powerful. A steady kind of grace that never lets go. Truth 15. They age beside you, but always stay. One step closer. Dogs don't count the years like we do. They don't dread birthdays or measure time in wrinkles. But they feel the weight of aging, yours and theirs. They slow down, sure. Their steps get heavier. Their naps stretch longer. But even as their bodies grow tired, their instinct to stay close only sharpens. It's as if, with every passing year, they move just a little closer. Not out of weakness, but out of knowing. They sense when your hands don't move like they used to. When you sit longer in your chair. When your breath catches before you stand. They adjust without fanfare. They rise slower so you don't feel rushed. They watch more than they chase, not because they're losing energy, but because they're choosing presence. Choosing to match your pace, to meet you exactly where you are. And when their own joints ache and eyes blur, they still lean in. Because to them, staying near you is the point. You're not just part of their life. You are their life. And even when their legs falter, their loyalty doesn't. But before this story closes, there's one last thing you need to hear. Because beyond scent, beyond memory, beyond time, there's a way your dog says I love you that has no words. And if you blink, you might miss it. You've heard the science. You've felt the stories. But through all the truths, there's something deeper your dog's been trying to tell you in every glance, every sigh, every quiet moment by your side. It's not barked or begged or shouted. It's breathed. It's waited. They don't need big gestures. They don't care about perfect days or flawless routines. All they want is you. Present. Kind. Still choosing them. Because in their world, love doesn't need to be explained. It just needs to be shown. So next time they rest their head on your foot, or nudge your hand without reason, or follow you silently from room to room, don't brush it off. That's their I love you. That's their forever. And if even one part of this video reminded you of your dog, of the bond you share, don't keep that feeling to yourself. Subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who needs to remember what unconditional love truly looks like. Because here, we don't just talk about dogs. We tell the truth about the ones who love us hardest, longest, and most silently of all.